Shyness isn't a permanent trait. It's a learned behavior, and just like any other habit, it can be unlearned. The only thing standing between you and your goal is the story you keep telling yourself. This powerful idea by Jordan Belfort rings true, especially when it comes to shyness. The story you tell yourself, that you're shy, that you can't connect with others, or that you're not capable of making an impact, can be rewritten. This book is your guide to doing just that. If you've ever felt held back by shyness, if you've ever found yourself shrinking in social situations or avoiding new connections out of fear, this is for you. You're not alone. But the good news is, you don't have to stay stuck in that place. You can break free, and it starts with understanding that shyness isn't a permanent part of who you are. It's just a habit that you can change. In the pages ahead, we'll explore how emotional intelligence and social skills are your secret weapons in transforming your social life. Emotional intelligence is about understanding not just your own feelings, but also the feelings of those around you. By mastering this skill, you can navigate any social situation with confidence and ease. This book isn't about becoming someone else. It's about unlocking the best version of yourself, the one who is comfortable in their skin and capable of connecting with anyone. Throughout this journey, you'll learn practical strategies to stop overthinking, how to control your emotions so they don't control you, and the small but powerful shifts that will help you thrive in social situations. It's about taking control of your mindset and breaking the cycle of fear and self-doubt. You'll understand how to read people, start conversations effortlessly, and make others feel heard and valued, all while growing your own confidence day by day. This isn't just theory, it's about real-world application. The techniques you'll learn are simple, but they're incredibly effective. And most importantly, they're things you can start using right away in your day-to-day life. You are capable of so much more than you think. If you're ready to break free from the chains of shyness and start mastering the skills that will change your social life for good, this is your first step. The person you want to become isn't far away, you just need the right tools to get there. And in this book, you'll find exactly what you need to build the life and connections you've always desired. Chapter 1. Shyness is just a habit, and you can break it. Shyness isn't a personality trait, it's a habit. And just like any habit, it can be unlearned. It might feel permanent, like something built into your DNA, but it's not. It's simply a pattern you've repeated so many times that it feels automatic. The hesitation before speaking up, the overthinking after a conversation, the discomfort in social settings, all of these are responses you've conditioned yourself to have. They weren't always there. Somewhere along the way, they became familiar, and now they feel like second nature. But the good news is, anything learned can be unlearned. The reason shyness feels so strong is that it feeds on avoidance. The more you shrink away from social situations, the stronger the habit becomes. When you avoid speaking up in a group, your brain registers that as a safe action, reinforcing the idea that staying quiet is the right thing to do. But the opposite is also true. When you take small steps to engage, even when it feels uncomfortable, you start rewiring that response. The discomfort fades, and confidence grows in its place. Think about how habits work in everyday life. If someone drinks coffee every morning, they start craving it at the same time each day. If someone always takes the same road home, they drive it on autopilot. Shyness works the same way. Your brain has learned to expect discomfort in social situations, and so it reacts the same way every time. But just as you can train yourself into a habit, you can train yourself out of one. Most people assume that social confidence is something you either have or don't. That's a myth. Confidence isn't a trait, it's a skill. It's built through repetition, through action, through doing things before you feel ready. The biggest mistake people make is waiting to feel confident before acting. But confidence doesn't come first, action does. Once you start speaking up, engaging, and challenging your fears, confidence follows. The first step in breaking this habit is noticing the patterns that keep it alive. Pay attention to the moments when you hold yourself back. Is it when meeting new people? When speaking in front of a group? When making small talk? Once you recognize these moments, you can start making intentional changes. Even small shifts, like making eye contact for a second longer or initiating a simple greeting, begin to weaken the hold of shyness. Avoiding social situations might bring temporary relief, but in the long run, it makes things worse. Each time you avoid speaking up, it reinforces the belief that you're incapable, that socializing is difficult, that you're not someone who can handle these moments. That belief is false, but the more you repeat the behavior, the more real it feels. The only way to break this cycle is by stepping into the discomfort, even in the smallest ways. Think of it like building a muscle. If someone never exercises, their muscles remain weak. The first few workouts feel uncomfortable. They might feel sore or uncoordinated. But with consistency, strength builds. Social confidence works exactly the same way. The first few times you challenge your shyness, it will feel uncomfortable. You'll second-guess yourself, but each time you push through, the habit of confidence grows stronger. One of the fastest ways to start shifting your mindset is to change your internal dialogue. If your thoughts are constantly reinforcing the idea that you're shy, that socializing is hard, or that you're not good with people, then that's the reality you'll live in. But if you start telling yourself a different story, one where you are capable, where speaking up is just a skill to practice, where every interaction is an opportunity rather than a test, you begin to reshape your identity. Small intentional actions are the key to rewiring the way you see yourself. If you typically avoid starting conversations, challenge yourself to say something small to a cashier or a coworker. If you tend to sit back and let others talk, push yourself to contribute just one thought. These moments might seem insignificant, but they add up. Each one is a signal to your brain that the old habit is being replaced. There's no need for drastic changes overnight. Social confidence isn't built in a day. It's built in small, consistent moments of stepping outside your comfort zone. The key is to focus on progress rather than perfection. It's not about suddenly becoming the most outgoing person in the room. It's about proving to yourself, one interaction at a time, that you are capable of more than you've believed. The discomfort you feel in social situations isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's simply a sign that you haven't trained this skill enough yet. Just like learning to drive, learning a new language, or picking up an instrument, the beginning always feels awkward. But the more you practice, the easier it gets. What once felt intimidating becomes natural. Confidence is not about being the loudest person in the room. It's not about forcing yourself to be someone you're not. It's about being comfortable in your own skin, about trusting yourself to handle conversations without overthinking, about feeling at ease in social situations rather than seeing them as something to fear. That kind of confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you create. Every day presents small opportunities to challenge old habits and build new ones. The question is whether you'll take them, whether you'll let fear and hesitation keep you in the same cycle, or whether you'll take that first uncomfortable step toward change. It's never about being perfect. It's about showing up, trying, and proving to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. Shyness is not who you are. It's just something you've been practicing. But now you're going to start practicing something new. Chapter 2. The Secret Power of Emotional Intelligence. EQ. Emotional intelligence is one of the most valuable skills a person can develop. It determines how well someone navigates relationships, handles stress, and understands both their own emotions and the emotions of others. People often assume intelligence is about knowledge, facts, and problem solving, but the ability to recognize and manage feelings, both internally and externally, is just as important. In many cases, it's even more important. Success in life, whether in personal relationships or professional settings, depends largely on emotional intelligence rather than raw intellect. Most people react to emotions rather than control them. They feel frustrated and lash out, feel hurt and shut down, feel overwhelmed and avoid dealing with things. Emotional intelligence is the difference between being controlled by feelings and knowing how to use them wisely. Instead of reacting blindly, a person with emotional intelligence knows how to pause, assess a situation, and respond in a way that benefits them rather than harms them. This isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about understanding them deeply and using them to navigate life more effectively. The way people handle emotions is often shaped by past experiences. Some grew up in environments where expressing feelings was discouraged, leading them to bottle things up. Others may have been surrounded by emotional outbursts, making them feel like emotions are overwhelming and uncontrollable. These early experiences create subconscious patterns that continue into adulthood, influencing the way a person reacts to stress, conflict, and social situations. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward changing them. One of the most overlooked aspects of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. Without it, a person moves through life reacting to emotions without understanding why they feel a certain way. They get angry without recognizing the deeper cause. They feel insecure without realizing where that insecurity comes from. The more someone pays attention to their emotions, the easier it becomes to manage them. When a strong feeling arises, instead of immediately acting on it, they can take a step back and ask themselves what's really going on. This ability to pause and reflect makes all the difference in how someone handles challenges. Another key aspect of emotional intelligence is self-regulation. While self-awareness allows a person to understand their emotions, self-regulation helps them control how those emotions influence their actions. Instead of letting frustration lead to an argument, they can recognize the frustration, take a deep breath, and approach the situation calmly. Instead of letting anxiety prevent them from trying something new, they can acknowledge the fear but move forward anyway. Emotions are not the enemy, they are signals. The goal is to learn how to interpret those signals rather than be overwhelmed by them. Empathy is a powerful part of emotional intelligence. Understanding one's own emotions is important, but understanding the emotions of others is just as crucial. People who lack empathy struggle to connect with those around them because they only see things from their own perspective. They may dismiss someone's feelings as unimportant, struggle to communicate effectively, or fail to build meaningful relationships. Empathy allows someone to put themselves in another person's shoes, see things from a different angle, and respond in a way that strengthens connections rather than weakens them. Social awareness goes hand in hand with empathy. Some people walk into a room and instantly pick up on the mood, whether there's tension, excitement, or unease. Others seem oblivious, unable to read body language, tone of voice, or the unspoken energy of a conversation. The more socially aware a person is, the better they can navigate interactions. They recognize when someone is uncomfortable and adjust accordingly. They pick up on subtle cues that indicate how someone feels. This awareness makes conversations smoother, relationships stronger, and social interactions far more successful. Strong emotional intelligence also means being able to communicate emotions clearly and effectively. Some people struggle to express what they feel, leading to misunderstandings, frustration, and unnecessary conflict. Others assume people should automatically know how they feel, which leads to disappointment when that doesn't happen. Being able to articulate emotions, whether in a personal conversation or a professional setting, creates deeper connections and avoids confusion. It's not just about what is said, but how it's said. Tone, body language, and timing all play a role in effective communication. Handling criticism is another major test of emotional intelligence. Some people take criticism personally, seeing it as an attack rather than an opportunity to improve. They react defensively or shut down completely. Others recognize that constructive feedback is valuable, even if it stings at first. They listen, process the information, and decide how to use it to get better. The ability to handle criticism without taking it personally is a sign of strong emotional intelligence and a major factor in personal growth. Conflict resolution is another area where emotional intelligence makes a huge difference. Disagreements are inevitable, but the way they're handled determines the outcome. Some people escalate conflicts by reacting emotionally, saying things they don't mean, or refusing to listen. Others diffuse tension by staying calm, acknowledging different perspectives, and working toward a solution. The ability to resolve conflicts without damaging relationships is an essential skill in both personal and professional life. Emotional intelligence also plays a role in motivation. People who manage their emotions well don't rely on fleeting feelings to determine their actions. They don't wait to feel motivated before taking action. Instead, they understand that emotions fluctuate, but discipline and purpose remain constant. They push through challenges because they know how to manage frustration, doubt, and fear, rather than letting those emotions control them. Stress management is another crucial aspect. Life is full of challenges, and no one is immune to stress. But while some people crumble under pressure, others remain steady because they know how to regulate their emotions. They practice techniques like deep breathing, reframing negative thoughts, and focusing on what they can control instead of what they can't. Their ability to handle stress directly affects their ability to handle life. Building emotional intelligence isn't about perfection, it's about progress. No one is in complete control of their emotions all the time. Everyone has moments of frustration, insecurity, or stress. But the more aware someone becomes, the better they get at managing those emotions rather than being controlled by them. The key is practice. Just like any skill, emotional intelligence improves with consistent effort. Paying attention to emotions, pausing before reacting, practicing empathy, and refining communication skills all contribute to growth over time. A person's level of emotional intelligence influences every aspect of their life, from the quality of their relationships to their success in work and their ability to handle challenges. It determines how they respond to difficult situations, how well they connect with others, and how effectively they manage their own thoughts and feelings. It's a skill worth developing, and the more someone works on it, the more they realize just how powerful it is. The ability to understand, regulate, and communicate emotions isn't just a personal advantage, it's a life-changing one. Chapter 3. Confidence isn't loud, it's controlled. Real confidence isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It isn't about showing off, seeking attention, or forcing a personality that doesn't feel natural. True confidence is controlled, steady, and unshaken. It comes from a deep understanding of oneself, from knowing one's worth without needing constant validation from others. People often mistake confidence for arrogance, but they couldn't be more different. Arrogance is built on insecurity, a desperate need to prove something. Real confidence, on the other hand, doesn't need to prove anything. It simply exists. Many believe confidence is something people are born with, that some just naturally have it while others don't. That idea keeps them stuck, waiting for confidence to magically appear before they take action. But confidence isn't something that arrives first. It's something that develops through experience, effort, and a willingness to step into discomfort. It isn't loud because it doesn't need to be. It isn't desperate for attention because it doesn't rely on external approval. Instead, it's built on quiet certainty, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. People with real confidence don't try to dominate conversations or prove their intelligence in every discussion. They listen more than they speak, not because they lack opinions, but because they don't feel the need to fill the silence with unnecessary words. They understand that confidence isn't about being the center of attention. It's about being comfortable with who they are, whether people are watching or not. They don't waste energy trying to impress others because they aren't seeking approval. Instead, they focus on being present, engaging when necessary, and trusting that their presence alone is enough. A truly confident person doesn't over-explain themselves or try to justify their actions. They make decisions based on what feels right to them, not on what will please others. They don't need to seek permission to be themselves, nor do they shrink to make others comfortable. This quiet certainty comes from knowing that their worth isn't dependent on whether someone agrees with them or not. They don't get easily rattled by criticism, nor do they take rejection as a personal failure. They understand that not everyone will like them, and that's perfectly fine. One of the biggest indicators of controlled confidence is emotional stability. People who lack confidence tend to react impulsively, whether it's through defensiveness, frustration, or an eagerness to please. But real confidence allows for restraint. When someone criticizes them, they don't immediately jump to defend themselves. Instead, they evaluate whether the feedback is useful. If it is, they learn from it. If it isn't, they move on. They don't waste time on unnecessary arguments or let their emotions control them. Their confidence isn't shaken by small things because they don't attach their self-worth to every passing opinion. The ability to remain calm under pressure is another sign of strong confidence. In moments of uncertainty, many people panic, overthink, or rush to prove themselves. But true confidence allows for patience. It creates space to think clearly, respond rather than react, and make decisions with intention rather than fear. The more someone practices staying composed in difficult situations, the more naturally confidence follows. It isn't about having all the answers, it's about trusting oneself to figure things out as they come. Confidence doesn't mean always knowing what to do or say. It doesn't mean never feeling nervous or unsure. The difference is that confident people don't let those feelings stop them. They take action even when they feel uncertain. They understand that hesitation is normal, but doesn't have to be a barrier. Every time they step forward, despite fear, they reinforce their own capability. Confidence is built in those moments when someone chooses courage over comfort, effort over avoidance, and action over doubt. Social confidence, in particular, comes from experience. No one starts out effortlessly comfortable in every situation. Those who seem naturally confident in conversations didn't get there by accident. They built that skill through practice, by putting themselves in situations that forced them to engage, listen, and learn. They faced awkward moments, misunderstandings, and rejections, but instead of seeing those as failures, they saw them as part of the process. Over time, they became more at ease, not because they stopped feeling nervous, but because they stopped letting nervousness define them. A controlled and steady presence often speaks louder than words. People who are secure in themselves don't fidget nervously, rush through conversations, or avoid eye contact. They move with purpose, speak with clarity, and hold themselves in a way that commands respect without demanding it. They don't need to prove their confidence by overpowering others. Instead, they create an atmosphere that naturally draws people in. The way they carry themselves, the way they pause before responding, the way they listen with intention, all of these small details add up to a powerful presence. Confidence also comes from preparation. The more someone understands a subject, the more comfortable they are discussing it. The more they expose themselves to social situations, the easier conversations become. The more they practice a skill, the more natural it feels. Confidence isn't a switch that turns on suddenly, it's the result of consistent effort. Those who seem effortlessly composed have simply put in the work to get to that point. It's easy to believe that confidence is an external thing, something based on appearance, social status, or achievements. But real confidence isn't built on external factors. It comes from within. It's not about how others see a person, it's about how they see themselves. Someone who ties their confidence to achievements will always need the next win to feel worthy. Someone who builds confidence on a deeper foundation knows that their value doesn't depend on any single moment of success or failure. Developing confidence requires stepping into discomfort repeatedly. It means speaking up when it's easier to stay quiet, taking opportunities even when self-doubt creeps in, and trusting oneself even when certainty isn't guaranteed. Confidence doesn't require perfection. In fact, part of confidence is accepting imperfection. Those who fear failure stay stuck, while those who embrace failure as a learning experience continue to grow. The difference between someone who appears naturally confident and someone who struggles with it often comes down to mindset. Those who lack confidence focus on their weaknesses, their mistakes, and the opinions of others. Those who have true confidence focus on growth, their ability to handle challenges, and their own self-respect. They don't wait for someone else to validate them. They don't rely on outside forces to determine their worth. They decide every day to show up as the best version of themselves, knowing that confidence is not about being perfect, but about being steady, capable, and in control. Chapter 4. How to stop overthinking every social interaction. Overthinking social interactions is something many people do without even realizing it. It happens when you're about to speak to someone, and instead of just engaging, your mind starts racing with questions. What if they don't like me? What if I say something awkward? What if I make a fool of myself? It's a never-ending loop of self-doubt and anxiety that makes even the simplest conversation feel like a high-pressure situation. The truth is, overthinking doesn't help. It just gets in the way. At the core of overthinking is the fear of judgment. You're worried about how others will perceive you, how your words will be interpreted, or what might go wrong. This fear isn't always based on reality. In fact, most of the time, people aren't paying as much attention to you as you think they are. Most people are too busy worrying about their own insecurities to scrutinize yours. The more you focus on the possibility of something going wrong, the more likely it is that you'll create unnecessary stress for yourself. The first step to breaking this habit is acknowledging that your thoughts are often disconnected from reality. In most social situations, the fear of embarrassment or rejection is far greater than the actual risk of either happening. If you make a mistake, so what? It happens. People rarely remember the small, awkward moments that make you cringe. What sticks with them is how you handled the situation after the fact. One of the best ways to stop overthinking is to focus on the present moment. This means actively engaging with the person in front of you, paying attention to what they're saying, and responding in real time. It's easy to get stuck in your own head, but shifting your attention outward helps you stay grounded. When you focus on listening and responding to the conversation, there's less room for self-doubt and fear. You're no longer concerned with how you're coming across. You're simply engaged in the interaction. Another way to stop overthinking is to reframe your perspective on social interactions. Instead of seeing them as a test of your worth, think of them as opportunities to connect. Every conversation is a chance to learn something new, whether it's about the person you're talking to or yourself. People don't expect perfection from you, they expect sincerity. If you can be genuine and present, that's what truly matters. It's also important to accept that some discomfort is natural. Being nervous about a conversation or feeling uncertain is part of being human. It's normal to have moments of hesitation, especially if you're talking to someone new or in an unfamiliar setting. The key is not to let that discomfort stop you from acting. The more you engage with people, even when it feels uncomfortable, the easier it becomes. Each time you step out of your comfort zone, it becomes less of a big deal. You begin to realize that nothing catastrophic happens when you stop overthinking. Practice helps too. Overthinking often comes from a lack of experience or familiarity. If you feel unsure about how to approach social situations, start by putting yourself in smaller, lower-pressure environments. Initiate small conversations with people in everyday settings, the barista at the coffee shop, the cashier at the grocery store, or a colleague at work. These interactions are low stakes and give you the chance to practice without the pressure of a high-stakes conversation. Over time, these small victories will build your confidence and help you become more comfortable in bigger situations. When you find yourself slipping into the cycle of overthinking, a good technique is to pause and take a deep breath. Take a moment to reset and bring your focus back to the present. This simple action can interrupt the spiral of thoughts that keeps you trapped in doubt. It helps calm your nervous system and allows you to regain control over the situation. After taking a deep breath, gently remind yourself that most of the things you're worrying about won't even matter in a few hours, let alone a few days. Sometimes it's helpful to take the pressure off yourself entirely. Instead of worrying about what you're going to say or how you'll come across, focus on the other person. Show genuine interest in their words. Ask questions. Listen actively. People appreciate being heard, and they respond to sincerity. When you shift the focus away from yourself and place it on the other person, you stop worrying about how you're coming across and start building a real connection. In fact, one of the most powerful tools for reducing anxiety in conversations is to focus on helping the other person feel comfortable. Most people are just as nervous as you are, even if it doesn't always show. If you can make someone else feel at ease, it can ease your own nerves too. Put your energy into making the other person feel heard and understood, and you'll find that the conversation flows more naturally. One technique to help stop overthinking is to accept that mistakes are part of the process. No one is perfect, and social interactions are a space where slip-ups happen. Saying the wrong thing, stumbling over words, or not knowing what to say next is completely normal. The important thing is how you respond in those moments. If you can laugh it off, apologize, and keep going, you'll look more confident than if you freeze up or over-apologize. People won't remember your mistake, they'll remember how you handled it. Another way to reduce overthinking is to remind yourself that your self-worth isn't dependent on the outcome of a conversation. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that if a conversation doesn't go perfectly, it means something is wrong with you. But that's simply not true. Each interaction is just one small part of the bigger picture. If you didn't connect with someone or a conversation felt awkward, it doesn't mean you failed. It means you took a step forward. Social skills improve over time, and even the most experienced communicators had to start somewhere. One of the most freeing realizations is that social interactions don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have every word planned or every reaction rehearsed. The best conversations happen when people are relaxed, when they listen to each other, and when they engage without worrying about the result. So much of the pressure we feel in social situations comes from our own minds. When you stop trying to control every detail, you'll find that the conversation flows naturally, and the anxiety you once felt begins to fade. The key to stopping overthinking is simple: stop making it about you. Focus on the present moment, on the people around you, and on making genuine connections. When you take the focus off yourself and your fears, you allow the conversation to unfold without unnecessary stress. Over time, as you practice this approach, you'll begin to realize that social interactions are not something to be feared or overanalyzed. They're just another opportunity to connect with others and enjoy life's many little moments. Chapter 5. The Art of Staying Cool Under Pressure. When you're under pressure, whether in a social situation, a work meeting, or even just a casual conversation, the temptation to panic can be overwhelming. You feel your heart racing, your thoughts scatter, and everything starts to feel like it's falling apart. It's easy to give in to that wave of panic, but the key to staying composed under pressure is understanding that you are in control. The more you practice staying calm, the easier it becomes. First, recognize that pressure is something everyone faces. It's not a personal weakness or something that makes you different from others. Everyone experiences moments when they feel the weight of expectations, when they feel overwhelmed by the situation. What sets people apart isn't whether they feel pressure, but how they respond to it. Most people believe that pressure will break them, but the truth is that pressure can shape and mold you into someone stronger, more focused, and more resilient. The more you face pressure and learn how to manage it, the less power it has over you. A critical step to staying calm is taking a deep breath. When you feel that rush of anxiety or panic, your body reacts by tightening up. Your breathing becomes shallow, your heart rate increases, and your thoughts start to race. In those moments, breathing deeply and slowly can have a powerful effect. It doesn't just calm your body, it also calms your mind. Deep breaths signal to your brain that you are not in immediate danger, that the situation is under control. It helps you reset and regain focus. It's helpful to practice controlled breathing even when you're not under pressure. The more you practice in everyday situations, the easier it will be to access that calm when you really need it. This doesn't mean you're pretending that the pressure doesn't exist. It just means you're taking a moment to gather yourself before you respond. You are giving yourself the space to choose how to react, rather than being swept away by emotions. Another key to staying cool under pressure is to change the way you view the situation. Instead of seeing it as a test, view it as a challenge, an opportunity to prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort and uncertainty. This subtle shift in perspective can make all the difference. If you treat a stressful situation as something to be feared, it will overwhelm you. But if you see it as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to expand your comfort zone, it becomes less intimidating. One way to practice this mindset shift is to reframe pressure as a form of focus. When you feel under pressure, it means that something important is at stake, and your brain is naturally honing in on it. The key is to direct that focus in a positive direction. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, focus on the outcome you want to achieve. Visualize yourself handling the situation with grace and ease. Imagine how it would feel to stay calm, to make thoughtful decisions, to respond with confidence. Visualization is a tool used by athletes, performers, and successful people in all fields. It primes your mind to act in the way you want it to, making it more likely that you'll remain composed when the moment arrives. It's also crucial to avoid getting caught up in the what-if game. When you're under pressure, it's easy to start thinking of all the possible negative outcomes. What if I say the wrong thing? What if they don't like me? What if I fail? This line of thinking only amplifies your anxiety and clouds your judgment. Instead, focus on the present moment. The more you can stay in the here and now, the less you'll get tangled up in fear and self-doubt. You don't need to predict the future or have everything figured out. You just need to take the next step and stay focused on the task at hand. Confidence plays a huge role in how you handle pressure. When you feel confident in yourself, you trust that no matter what happens, you'll be able to handle it. This doesn't mean that you'll always have the perfect response, but you'll trust that you can recover and move forward. The more you put yourself in pressure-filled situations and practice handling them, the more confident you become. Each time you successfully navigate a stressful moment, you reinforce your belief that you are capable of handling whatever comes your way. It's also helpful to recognize that not all pressure is bad. Some amount of pressure can motivate you to perform at your best. It helps you focus your energy, heightens your senses, and drives you to act with clarity and purpose. This is the kind of pressure that leads to growth. It forces you out of your comfort zone and into new territory where you can learn and develop new skills. But the key is understanding how to manage that pressure, how to turn it from something that overwhelms you into something that fuels your performance. One of the most powerful ways to stay calm is to embrace the fact that you are in charge of your emotions. When things get tense, it's easy to feel like you're at the mercy of your feelings. But the truth is that emotions don't control you unless you let them. Just because you feel anxious or stressed doesn't mean you have to act on those emotions. You can choose how to respond, and sometimes the best response is to simply stay calm and centered. A good way to practice emotional control is through mindfulness. By paying attention to your thoughts and feelings without judgment, you can create space between your emotional reactions and your responses. Instead of being swept away by a rush of fear or anxiety, you can acknowledge those feelings without letting them dictate your actions. Mindfulness helps you to observe your emotions from a distance, giving you the ability to choose how to act rather than reacting impulsively. At the same time, it's important to acknowledge that pressure can be draining. When you're constantly under stress, it can take a toll on your mental and physical health. That's why it's essential to take care of yourself outside of high-pressure situations. Regular exercise, healthy eating, and adequate sleep all contribute to your ability to stay calm under stress. When you take care of your body, your mind is better equipped to handle pressure. The healthier you are, the more resilient you become. Another way to stay cool under pressure is to focus on the things you can control. You can't control how others react or what happens in the future, but you can control how you respond to the present moment. This realization can be incredibly empowering. By focusing on your own actions and your own mindset, you free yourself from the worry and anxiety that comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. And remember, it's okay not to have all the answers right away. In moments of pressure, we often feel like we need to be quick and decisive. But sometimes, taking a moment to breathe, to pause and to gather your thoughts is the best course of action. There's no rule that says you have to react immediately. Sometimes the best way to respond to pressure is to slow down and allow yourself the time to think clearly. The ability to stay calm under pressure is not something that happens overnight. It's a skill that you develop through consistent practice. The more you expose yourself to pressure-filled situations and work on staying composed, the easier it becomes. The key is to remember that pressure is a natural part of life, and it doesn't have to define you. You have the power to choose how you respond to any situation, no matter how stressful it may seem. When you embrace this power, you'll find that staying calm under pressure becomes second nature. Chapter 6. Mastering Emotional Control. Don't let others rattle you. In social situations, it's easy to feel rattled, especially when you're faced with unexpected emotions or reactions from others. There are those moments when someone says something that throws you off, or someone's behavior catches you by surprise. The worst thing you can do in these moments is to let your emotions dictate how you react. It's easy to get upset, defensive, or even withdraw, but if you can master emotional control, you'll find that these situations lose their power over you. First, it's important to realize that you don't have to react immediately. Emotional control is not about suppressing or ignoring your feelings. It's about giving yourself the space to choose your response. When something happens that could potentially rattle you, whether it's a sharp comment or an awkward situation, take a moment. Acknowledge your emotions, but don't let them take control. It's natural to feel frustrated, embarrassed, or angry in some situations, but these feelings don't need to define how you respond. The ability to pause, breathe, and assess the situation is a powerful tool in emotional control. Mastering this skill begins with awareness. You can't control what you're not aware of. You have to pay attention to how your body responds in different situations. Do you feel tension in your chest or a tightness in your throat when someone challenges you? Do your palms sweat or your heart race when you're put on the spot? These physical sensations are clues that something has triggered you. The more you pay attention to these cues, the more you can begin to recognize when your emotions are about to take over. It's in these moments that you can choose to pause and take control. One of the most effective ways to regain control in an emotional moment is to focus on your breath. This may sound simple, but it's incredibly powerful. When we're emotional, our breathing often becomes shallow and erratic. By slowing down and deepening your breath, you send a signal to your nervous system that everything is okay. It's like hitting a reset button for your body and mind. By taking deep breaths, you give yourself a few precious seconds to calm down, collect your thoughts, and decide how you want to respond. Another important element of emotional control is understanding that you are not your emotions. You may feel anger, but that doesn't mean you are an angry person. You may feel anxious, but that doesn't mean you are anxious by nature. Emotions are temporary experiences. They come and go. They don't have to define your behavior. You are the one who decides how to act, even when emotions are running high. Remind yourself that your feelings, while real, do not control you. They are signals, not commands. You have the ability to choose your reaction, and that choice is where your power lies. It also helps to develop emotional detachment in difficult situations. This doesn't mean you should disconnect from your feelings entirely or pretend you don't care. It means you can observe the situation without getting caught up in it. Think of it like watching a movie. You're aware of the plot and the characters, but you're not getting lost in the drama. If someone says something hurtful or upsetting, rather than absorbing that energy and reacting impulsively, try to detach. Understand that the person's words are more about them than they are about you. Their comment or behavior is often a reflection of their own insecurities or frustrations, not a judgment of your worth. By detaching from the situation, you prevent yourself from getting drawn into unnecessary conflict or negative emotions. Another way to master emotional control is to reframe the situation. Often the way we interpret events can escalate our emotions. If someone cuts you off in conversation or doesn't acknowledge your point, you might feel dismissed or unimportant. But if you reframe that situation by telling yourself that they might just be distracted or that it's not a personal attack, you can prevent your emotions from spiraling. Reframing helps you maintain perspective. It allows you to look at the bigger picture and not get caught up in momentary irritations. When you choose to reinterpret a situation in a more positive or neutral light, you free yourself from the emotional charge it carries. Also, keep in mind that emotional control doesn't mean being completely stoic or devoid of emotion. It's about balance. It's about feeling your emotions without letting them control you. It's knowing when to express how you feel and when to hold back. For example, if someone says something hurtful, it's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to acknowledge that pain. But the key is not to let that pain spill over into anger or defensiveness. Emotional control allows you to experience your feelings and still choose how to respond. You can express your feelings with maturity and calmness without letting them get the best of you. Sometimes emotional control is about taking care of yourself outside of the high-pressure moments. It's much easier to stay calm in stressful situations when you've been practicing emotional regulation every day. Engaging in activities that help you stay centered, like meditation, exercise, or journaling, can build your emotional resilience. When you invest in your emotional well-being consistently, you're better equipped to handle moments of stress and conflict when they arise. Another aspect of emotional control is self-compassion. Often we're hardest on ourselves when we make mistakes or when we feel out of control emotionally. If you slip up and let your emotions take over, don't beat yourself up. Recognize that you're human. Everyone loses their cool now and then. What matters is how you recover and learn from it. Be kind to yourself, and don't let one misstep define your ability to control your emotions in the future. Every moment is an opportunity to do better. Remember that emotional control isn't about suppressing or denying your emotions. It's about learning to manage them effectively. By giving yourself the space to breathe, by reframing situations, by practicing self-compassion, and by engaging in regular emotional maintenance, you can improve your ability to stay calm in the face of challenge. The more you practice emotional control, the more natural it will feel, and the less power external situations will have over your state of mind. Ultimately, mastering emotional control is about empowering yourself. It's about recognizing that you have the ability to choose your reactions. No matter what's happening around you, you can decide how to respond. The world may throw you curveballs, but you don't have to let them throw you off course. With practice, awareness, and patience, emotional control will become second nature, and you'll find yourself more grounded, confident, and resilient in every aspect of your life. Chapter 7. How to start a conversation without the awkwardness. Starting a conversation can be intimidating, especially when you're unsure of what to say or how the other person will react. Many people struggle with initiating interactions, worrying about awkward silences or saying something inappropriate. But the truth is, starting a conversation is a skill that can be developed, and once you know how to approach it with confidence, it becomes much easier. The first thing to remember is that a conversation doesn't have to be perfect from the start. In fact, it's normal for things to be a little awkward at first, especially if you don't know the person well, but that's okay. The key is to embrace those first few moments of uncertainty and use them as an opportunity to build rapport and connection. A good place to begin is with something simple and non-threatening, like a greeting or a comment about the environment around you. For example, if you're at a coffee shop, you might start by commenting on the coffee, the weather, or the music playing in the background. These types of casual remarks break the ice without requiring too much thought or effort. It's not about having an elaborate script in your head. It's about offering a small entry point for the other person to engage with. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to start with something profound or witty. Often the best conversations begin with something completely ordinary. It's important to shift your mindset from worrying about impressing the other person to focusing on creating a genuine connection. People appreciate authenticity, and when you speak from a place of curiosity rather than trying to impress, the conversation flows more naturally. One of the simplest and most effective ways to keep a conversation going is by asking open-ended questions. These are questions that can't be answered with a simple yes or no. Instead, they invite the other person to share more about themselves and create an opportunity for a deeper exchange. For instance, instead of asking, "Did you have a good weekend?" try asking, "What did you do over the weekend?" This opens the door for the other person to elaborate and share more about their interests, experiences, or thoughts. It's important to listen actively when the other person is speaking. Active listening is a skill that can make a huge difference in the quality of a conversation. Instead of just waiting for your turn to talk, really focus on what the other person is saying, nod occasionally to show you're engaged, maintain eye contact, and ask follow-up questions that show you're interested in what they're saying. This not only helps you keep the conversation going, but it also makes the other person feel heard and valued. Another powerful way to initiate and sustain a conversation is through body language. Your nonverbal cues can play a huge role in how others perceive you and how open they feel to talking with you. Open, relaxed body language signals that you're approachable and comfortable in the situation. This can make a significant difference, especially if the other person is feeling nervous or uncertain. Make sure your posture is open, avoid crossing your arms, and try to maintain a warm, friendly expression. Simple gestures like smiling or leaning slightly forward can show that you're interested and engaged in the conversation. It's also helpful to be aware of the context in which you're initiating the conversation. If you're at a party or a social event, people are generally more open to casual interactions, and there's less pressure to have a deep or meaningful conversation right away. However, if you're in a more formal setting, like a work event or a networking session, your approach might need to be a little more thoughtful. In these situations, focusing on shared interests or professional topics can be a good starting point. Asking someone about their work or recent projects can open the door to a more substantive exchange. It's easy to get caught up in worrying about what you're going to say next, but the truth is that people are usually more focused on themselves and their own thoughts than on your every word. When you take the pressure off yourself to be perfect, it becomes easier to relax and engage more genuinely. A great way to do this is to embrace the mindset that every conversation is a learning experience. Whether the interaction goes well or not, there's always something to gain from it. Even if you stumble or feel awkward at first, you're gaining valuable practice that will help you improve your social skills over time. Another important aspect of starting a conversation is reading social cues. Every person has different preferences when it comes to socializing. Some people enjoy small talk and thrive in casual, light-hearted interactions, while others may prefer deeper, more meaningful exchanges. It's important to gauge the other person's level of comfort and adjust accordingly. If you notice they seem engaged and eager to talk, you can dive deeper into the conversation. But if they seem distracted or closed off, it might be best to keep things light and give them space. Sometimes, the most effective way to start a conversation is simply by showing kindness. A warm smile, a compliment, or a genuine inquiry into how someone is doing can be the perfect icebreaker. People are naturally drawn to those who show interest in them and make them feel good about themselves. It doesn't take much to brighten someone's day with a kind word or a thoughtful gesture, and this can open the door to a meaningful conversation. It's also important to be patient with yourself. Mastering the art of conversation takes time, and you won't always have the perfect thing to say. It's okay to have moments of silence or pauses in the conversation. These don't have to be awkward. Instead of seeing them as gaps, view them as opportunities to collect your thoughts or let the conversation naturally evolve. It's natural for there to be moments of quiet, and often they provide the space for deeper reflection or a shift in direction. One way to stay calm and focused when starting a conversation is to remind yourself that most people are more concerned with themselves than with how you're coming across. This might sound surprising, but it's liberating. When you stop worrying about whether you're saying the right thing or making a good impression, you free yourself up to be more authentic and present in the moment. Your goal isn't to be perfect, it's to connect, learn and share with the other person in a meaningful way. It's also crucial to give yourself permission to be imperfect. Not every conversation will go as smoothly as you hope, and that's okay. There will be moments where you feel a little unsure or find yourself searching for the right words. But these moments are part of the process of improving your social skills. Don't beat yourself up over minor missteps. Instead, use them as learning experiences, reflect on what worked and what didn't, and be gentle with yourself. The more you practice, the better you'll get. Starting a conversation doesn't have to be a monumental task. It's simply about showing up, being yourself, and being open to connecting with others. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. And over time, you'll find that your ability to engage with others becomes more natural, less stressful, and more enjoyable. Whether you're meeting new people, reconnecting with old friends, or simply navigating day-to-day interactions, the skill of starting a conversation is something that will serve you in countless situations. It's a tool that will not only help you in social settings, but will also enhance your overall confidence and emotional intelligence. Chapter 8. The Science of Being Instantly Likeable. Being liked is something that many of us desire, whether we're meeting new people or navigating daily interactions. The reality is that, as much as we all want to connect with others, There's a common fear of being judged, rejected, or misunderstood. We often worry about making a positive impression, but struggle with knowing how to make people feel comfortable around us. The truth is that becoming someone others are naturally drawn to doesn't require trying to be someone you're not. It's about tapping into simple yet powerful behaviors that make others feel seen, heard, and valued. The first thing to understand is that being likable isn't about being perfect or pretending to be someone you're not. People are drawn to those who are genuine, confident, and comfortable in their own skin. When you're authentic, you make others feel comfortable because they don't have to guess who you are or what you stand for. There's a certain calmness in authenticity that allows others to relax, and that's when real connections happen. It's the kind of energy that encourages openness and trust. One of the simplest ways to make people like you is by showing a genuine interest in them. This doesn't mean interrogating them with questions or trying to impress them with your knowledge, but rather focusing on the other person. Ask thoughtful questions about their experiences, their interests, or what's important to them. When you show that you care about who they are, they feel valued. People love to talk about themselves, and when they sense that you're truly listening, they'll naturally gravitate toward you. A key part of this is active listening. Many people think that listening is just waiting for their turn to speak, but truly listening is a skill that's much deeper than that. It's about being present in the moment and paying attention to what the other person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally. People appreciate being heard, and when you show you're truly engaged, it makes them feel respected. You don't need to interrupt or jump in with your own stories right away. Sometimes, just nodding and giving a small response to show you're listening can strengthen your connection with someone. Another powerful tool for making people like you is to give them genuine compliments. Compliments are a way to acknowledge someone's positive qualities or achievements, and when they're sincere, they can make people feel great about themselves. The trick is to be specific. Instead of saying, "You look nice," you might say, "That color really brings out your eyes." Or instead of just saying, "Great job, try, I really admire how you handled that situation. Your approach was so calm and thoughtful." Specific compliments show that you're paying attention and that you appreciate them for who they truly are. However, compliments are not the only thing that will win people over. Another key element of being likable is showing empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. When you can put yourself in someone else's shoes, you create a sense of trust and connection. It's about acknowledging the other person's emotions and showing that you care. For example, if a friend is feeling down, instead of offering solutions right away, just listen and acknowledge how they feel. Sometimes, the best thing you can do for someone is to simply be there and show that you understand their perspective. In addition to empathy, people are drawn to those who are positive and uplifting. This doesn't mean you need to be upbeat and cheerful all the time, but showing optimism and looking for the good in situations makes a big difference. A positive attitude can be contagious, and when you offer a hopeful perspective, it encourages others to feel more at ease. It's easy to get caught up in negativity, but choosing to stay positive, especially in challenging situations, can make you someone that others want to be around. Humor is another key element of likability. People are naturally attracted to those who can make them laugh. It's not about being a stand-up comedian, but having a light-hearted approach to life can break the ice and help others feel comfortable. Humor helps to take the edge off tense moments and makes people feel relaxed. Of course, humor needs to be appropriate for the situation and audience, but using it to diffuse awkwardness or lighten the mood can create an instant connection. Confidence is also a critical component of likability. People are naturally drawn to those who are comfortable in their own skin, who don't try to be someone they're not. Confidence isn't about arrogance or boasting, but rather about knowing your worth and owning who you are. When you walk into a room with self-assurance, people notice. Confidence makes you approachable, and it encourages others to interact with you because they feel you're someone who knows what they want and stands by their values. It's also important to respect boundaries, both your own and others. When you're mindful of people's personal space and their emotional boundaries, you make them feel comfortable. Being respectful shows that you value them as individuals, and when others feel respected, they're more likely to respond positively to you. This also ties into being aware of social cues. Not everyone wants to engage in a long conversation or be the center of attention, and recognizing when to give someone space is just as important as knowing when to engage. One of the most impactful things you can do to make people like you is to be consistent in your behavior. People are drawn to those who are steady, reliable, and dependable. When you follow through on your promises, when you show up when you say you will, and when you maintain a consistent attitude, others start to trust you. Consistency creates a sense of safety in relationships, and when people feel they can rely on you, they're more likely to feel a genuine connection. Being likable also comes down to energy. The energy you project affects how others perceive you. If you're constantly down or negative, people will pick up on that and may shy away from engaging with you. On the other hand, if you exude warmth, openness, and approachability, others will feel more comfortable interacting with you. The key is to cultivate positive energy within yourself. When you're in a good mood or feeling centered, that energy will naturally attract others. It's about giving off vibes that make people want to engage with you rather than withdraw. Sometimes, making others like you is as simple as being kind. It's easy to get caught up in self-interest or trying to gain approval, but the best way to connect with people is through simple acts of kindness. Whether it's offering a helping hand, sharing something that makes them smile, or just listening without judgment, kindness creates bonds. It's something anyone can do, and it often leads to the most meaningful and lasting connections. Being likable is about creating a space where people feel safe to be themselves. It's not about winning approval or putting on an act, but rather about offering a genuine connection that makes others feel comfortable. The more you focus on others, the more you'll see how simple and effective it is to make people like you. It's about kindness, empathy, respect, and authenticity. When you give these things freely, they come back to you in ways that foster deeper connections and more meaningful relationships. It's not about mastering a set of skills, but rather embodying the qualities that naturally draw people to you. Chapter 9. Mastering the Art of Deep Conversations. When you think about the most meaningful conversations you've had, they probably weren't the ones where someone just asked you surface-level questions or only talked about themselves. What made those conversations so memorable was the depth, the way they made you feel understood, and the genuine connection that was formed. Deep conversations allow us to truly get to know someone and for them to know us. They're the conversations where both people feel comfortable enough to open up and share thoughts, feelings, and experiences in a way that leaves a lasting impact. The art of deep conversation isn't about asking complex questions or trying to impress others with your intellect. It's about cultivating an environment where both people feel safe enough to explore more than just the typical small talk. These conversations go beyond just exchanging facts and instead allow for genuine exchange, thoughts, feelings, ideas, and personal experiences. The key to mastering deep conversations is learning to create space for that level of vulnerability, and this often starts with your approach to communication. A great starting point is to simply be present. So often, we're thinking about what we're going to say next, or distracted by our phones, the environment around us, or our own thoughts. The key to fostering meaningful conversations is to focus entirely on the other person. This doesn't just mean hearing their words, it's about listening attentively to what they're actually saying and understanding the emotions behind those words. When you listen without the intention of responding right away, you give the other person room to speak freely and openly, knowing they're being fully heard. People tend to speak more openly when they feel like their words matter and that they're not competing with the other person's thoughts or responses. To deepen a conversation, you don't need to jump into heavy topics right away. Often the more profound discussions arise from a casual topic or question, but it's your follow-up that leads the conversation into a deeper place. Instead of letting a comment pass by, you can ask questions that build on what was just shared. It's about showing interest in the other person's thoughts, feelings, and experiences. If someone talks about their job, you could ask how it makes them feel, what they enjoy most about it, or how they got started in that field. This kind of inquiry shows you care and encourages the other person to share more than they might have originally intended. While it's easy to think of a deep conversation as one that covers serious or heavy topics, the truth is that light-hearted moments can be just as valuable. Humor and playfulness often help break down barriers and create a space where people feel comfortable opening up. A deep conversation doesn't need to be about discussing life's biggest questions. It could simply be about discussing something that's meaningful to the two of you in that moment. The focus is on connection and understanding, not on the weight of the topic. Another essential element of deep conversations is the willingness to be vulnerable. Often we hold back because we're afraid of judgment or rejection, but vulnerability is the key to creating genuine connections. When you allow yourself to share your thoughts, feelings, and experiences openly, it invites the other person to do the same. Vulnerability can be as simple as admitting that you don't have all the answers, or sharing a personal story that reveals your emotions. It's these moments of openness that create an authentic bond between you and the other person. People appreciate when someone is willing to show their true self, imperfections and all, because it shows a level of trust that's rare and valuable. It's also important to be mindful of the other person's emotional state. Deep conversations require empathy, and empathy requires sensitivity to the emotions of others. If someone seems upset or vulnerable, it's important to acknowledge that before diving into lighter topics or offering advice. Sometimes, people just need someone to listen and validate their feelings, and offering your presence can be more powerful than anything you could say. When it comes to deep conversations, a common challenge is the fear of silence. In our fast-paced world, silence can feel uncomfortable. We often rush to fill the space with words, but sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in a conversation is to simply be silent and let the other person reflect. Allowing a moment of silence lets the other person think before responding, and it gives you both space to process what has been shared. It's also a sign of respect to allow someone the time they need to gather their thoughts, especially when you're discussing something personal or meaningful. The depth of a conversation also depends on the willingness to get past the superficial. It's easy to stay on the surface, talking about work, the weather, or daily events. But the real magic happens when you move beyond the small talk and explore more personal topics. This doesn't mean you should dive into controversial or intensely personal matters right away, but it does mean that you should be willing to share more about yourself and ask questions that encourage the other person to do the same. Over time, as you develop a stronger relationship with someone, you can begin to explore even deeper topics. One powerful strategy to deepen a conversation is to ask open-ended questions. These are questions that cannot be answered with a simple yes or no, but instead require more thought and reflection. Asking questions like, "What's been the most rewarding part of your journey so far?" or "What's something you wish more people understood about your experience?" helps guide the conversation into a space where the person can share their thoughts in more detail. Open-ended questions show a genuine interest in the other person's feelings and ideas, and they encourage them to reflect on their own experiences. Another important aspect of deep conversations is creating an atmosphere of trust. When people feel safe and comfortable, they're more likely to share vulnerable aspects of themselves. This requires you to be authentic, open, and non-judgmental in your responses. It's not about having all the answers or offering solutions. It's about creating a space where the other person feels understood and accepted. When trust is present, it's easier for both people to share their true selves and to explore ideas that might otherwise be difficult to express. Remember, deep conversations are not just about talking. They're about connection. It's about the exchange of ideas, thoughts, and emotions in a way that brings people closer together. It's not about impressing others with your knowledge or dominating the conversation with your own experiences. It's about creating a balance where both people feel heard, valued, and respected. The beauty of deep conversations is that they allow us to break through the surface-level interactions that often leave us feeling disconnected. These conversations help us understand ourselves and others more deeply, and they create the foundation for stronger, more meaningful relationships. When you master the art of deep conversation, you open the door to deeper connections, and in doing so you cultivate relationships that are more fulfilling and impactful. Deep conversations are where true understanding and connection happen, where we go beyond the words and truly connect on a human level. Chapter 10. Reading people like a pro. You've probably heard it said that some people are just great at reading others. They seem to know what someone is thinking or feeling without that person saying a word. This is a skill that's incredibly valuable, especially when it comes to navigating social interactions. Being able to read people effectively can make you feel more confident in your relationships, help you avoid potential misunderstandings, and allow you to communicate more empathetically. The first thing to understand about reading people is that it's not about being psychic. It's not about knowing their thoughts or predicting their actions. Instead, it's about picking up on subtle cues and patterns of behavior that give you insight into how someone might be feeling or what they might be thinking. These cues can be physical, emotional, or even verbal. Sometimes they're obvious, and other times they're more subtle. But the key is learning to notice them so you can respond more appropriately and effectively. Start by paying attention to body language. It's one of the most immediate and powerful ways people communicate, and it often reveals more than words can. A person's posture, facial expressions, gestures, and even their physical proximity to others can give you a lot of insight into their mood or intentions. If someone is standing with their arms crossed or has a tense posture, they might be feeling defensive or closed off. On the other hand, if their body is open and relaxed, they're likely feeling comfortable and approachable. Eye contact is another big indicator. People tend to look at you when they're interested or engaged, but if they're avoiding eye contact, they might be feeling uncomfortable, distracted, or uninterested. Pay attention to the intensity of the gaze as well. Someone who is staring too intensely might be feeling confrontational or aggressive, while someone who is glancing around the room might be distracted or anxious. The way people speak also gives away a lot about how they're feeling. You can often tell if someone is nervous, upset or excited, just by the tone of their voice or the pace at which they're speaking. If they're speaking quickly, they might be feeling rushed or anxious. If their voice is shaky, they could be feeling nervous or uncertain. If they're speaking slowly, they might be trying to think carefully, or they could be feeling relaxed and comfortable. Listening closely to the way someone speaks and the words they choose can tell you a lot about what's going on beneath the surface. Facial expressions are another powerful clue. Think about the last time you saw someone smile. That smile was likely an indicator of happiness or enjoyment. But not all facial expressions are as obvious. A furrowed brow might suggest frustration or concentration, while pursed lips could indicate annoyance or disapproval. Learning to notice these small changes in facial expressions will help you better understand the emotions of those around you. But it's not just about individual cues. People don't just communicate with their eyes, hands, or voice. They communicate through a combination of all of these things. This is where patterns come in. If you're paying attention to the way someone is moving their hands while speaking, the tone of their voice, and their facial expression, you can start to put together a fuller picture of what they're feeling. For example, if someone is speaking with a fast-paced, high-pitched voice, fidgeting with their hands, and avoiding eye contact, they might be feeling anxious or uncomfortable. But if they're speaking slowly, making steady eye contact, and using expansive hand gestures, they're probably feeling confident and engaged. Another important factor in reading people is emotional intelligence, being able to not only recognize these cues, but also interpret them in a way that's emotionally aware. It's about being able to understand how someone might be feeling, and then responding in a way that acknowledges and respects those feelings. For example, if someone seems upset or defensive, it might not be the right time to push them with questions or assert your opinion. Instead, you could approach them with understanding and empathy, which helps foster a stronger connection and creates a safer space for communication. It's also important to remember that everyone is different. Just because someone is crossing their arms doesn't always mean they're closed off or defensive. Some people cross their arms because it feels comfortable, or because they're cold. Likewise, not everyone smiles when they're happy. Some people smile when they're nervous or uncomfortable. That's why it's important to look at the overall context and other cues. Is the person acting differently than usual? Are there external factors, like a stressful situation or a personal issue, that could be influencing their behavior? The more you practice reading people, the better you'll get at picking up on these cues and understanding the nuances of human behavior. It takes time and observation, and it's important not to rush to conclusions. Sometimes people might be sending mixed signals, and it's not always easy to tell what's going on. But by honing your ability to notice and interpret body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions, you'll be able to make more accurate guesses about what someone might be feeling, and that can help you respond in a more thoughtful and appropriate way. One of the most valuable aspects of reading people is the ability to recognize emotional states in others. When you can identify when someone is feeling anxious, stressed, or frustrated, you can adjust your approach to make them feel more comfortable. For example, if someone seems nervous about a conversation, you might soften your tone and give them more space to talk. If they seem upset, you might offer empathy and understanding rather than jumping into problem-solving mode. Being attuned to others' emotions allows you to be more considerate, and it helps foster stronger, more empathetic connections. Over time, as you develop your ability to read people, you'll notice that it becomes second nature. You'll start to pick up on signals more easily, and you'll be able to adjust your own behavior accordingly. People will feel understood and valued when they see that you're attuned to their emotional state. And you'll feel more confident in your interactions because you'll have a better sense of what's going on beneath the surface. It's important to remember that reading people is a skill, and like any skill, it can be improved with practice. You won't always get it right, and sometimes people's behavior might be influenced by things you can't see or understand right away. But the more you pay attention and the more you practice, the better you'll become at understanding the emotional and psychological states of those around you. Being able to read people is an invaluable tool for building stronger relationships, communicating more effectively, and navigating social situations with ease. It allows you to be more empathetic, more aware of others' needs, and more adept at responding in ways that foster connection and understanding. The ability to read people is a skill that can make you a more confident, thoughtful, and compassionate individual. Chapter 11. Social Anxiety Hacks. How to stay confident in any situation. It's a scenario many of us are all too familiar with. You walk into a room full of people and immediately feel the weight of your nerves. The familiar wave of anxiety creeps in as you start to question whether you belong, if you're doing enough, or even if you're just too different from everyone around you. Your palms start to sweat. Your heart begins to race, and the simple act of walking up to someone feels like climbing a mountain. Social anxiety, in its many forms, has the power to make us feel small and isolated, even in crowded places. But here's the thing. Social anxiety is not an indicator of who you are or what you're capable of. It's simply a response, a feeling, a reaction that can be managed, understood, and eventually overcome. The truth is, you don't have to let it control you. There are ways to regain control, regain your confidence, and walk into any social situation with ease. First off, you need to understand that social anxiety doesn't define you. It's a natural reaction, especially when you put yourself in unfamiliar situations. It's your mind's way of protecting you, trying to shield you from potential embarrassment or rejection. But it's important to realize that these fears are often exaggerated. The worst-case scenarios your mind plays out in those anxious moments are rarely the reality. To combat the anxiety, one of the first things you need to do is to ground yourself in the present moment. Anxiety thrives on what-ifs. The what if I mess up, or what if they don't like me, and so on. These thoughts are often about things that haven't even happened yet. They're based on hypotheticals. When you find yourself spiraling, take a deep breath and bring yourself back to what's happening right in front of you. Focus on the present moment. Engage with the person you're talking to. Focus on their words, their expression. When you stop focusing on your anxiety, it has less space to control you. It's also important to reframe how you view these situations. Social anxiety often leads us to believe that everyone is watching us or judging us. The truth is, most people are far too focused on their own thoughts and insecurities to scrutinize you. Everyone has their own concerns, their own worries, and the spotlight is rarely on you the way you think it is. Once you shift your perspective and realize that people are not constantly evaluating your every move, the pressure starts to lift. Instead of feeling like the odd one out, you can embrace the idea that everyone, in some way, shares the experience of feeling uncertain or nervous in social settings. Another powerful tool is preparation. While it's impossible to predict exactly how a conversation will go, there are things you can do beforehand that will help ease your anxiety. Think about how you want to approach the interaction. If it's a party or a meeting, Take a moment to consider what you might say or ask others. People love talking about themselves, so having a few open-ended questions ready can make the conversation flow more naturally. Having something to talk about, whether it's a compliment, a shared interest, or just a friendly observation, can be a great way to start an interaction and take the pressure off yourself. One key thing to remember is that your body language plays a huge role in how you feel and how others perceive you. When you're nervous, it's easy to hunch your shoulders, avoid eye contact, or cross your arms. These physical signals can make you appear closed off, which only heightens your anxiety. Instead, focus on maintaining open body language. Keep your shoulders back, stand tall, and make eye contact. You'll be surprised at how much of a difference this can make. Not only will you appear more approachable, but you'll also start to feel more confident in yourself. It's a subtle but powerful shift. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be the most outgoing person in the room. What matters is showing up and being present. The more you expose yourself to social situations, the easier they become. Each time you challenge yourself to step outside your comfort zone, you grow stronger. Over time, you'll begin to realize that those feelings of anxiety, while real, are also temporary. They are not insurmountable. The more you face them head-on, the less they'll control you. When it comes to overcoming social anxiety, self-compassion is crucial. It's easy to beat yourself up after an awkward moment or an interaction that didn't go as smoothly as you'd hoped. You might replay the conversation in your head over and over, focusing on the mistakes or the things you wish you had said. But instead of being harsh with yourself, practice kindness. Remind yourself that everyone has awkward moments and that it's okay to make mistakes. Those moments don't define you. In fact, they're often more important than the smooth interactions because they teach you resilience, self-awareness, and how to navigate discomfort. As you work through social anxiety, remember that it's okay to take small steps. You don't have to push yourself into the most high-pressure social situations right away. Start with smaller, less intimidating interactions. Maybe it's a brief chat with a colleague or a short conversation with a stranger at the store. With each step you build momentum and prove to yourself that you can handle these situations. As you grow more comfortable with the smaller interactions, you'll naturally feel more equipped to handle larger ones. Above all, the most important thing is to be patient with yourself. Social anxiety may not disappear overnight, but with practice, self-awareness, and perseverance, you'll find that it becomes more manageable. You'll start to notice that the moments of discomfort don't last as long, and that they don't hold as much power over you as they once did. Each time you show up, each time you take action, you're proving to yourself that you have the strength to face your fears and come out the other side stronger. The key to overcoming social anxiety isn't to eliminate it entirely, but to learn how to manage it. When you stop letting it dictate your actions and instead face it head-on, you create a new narrative for yourself. You become someone who takes control of their social experiences rather than someone who avoids them. You become someone who engages with the world around them, confident in the knowledge that you can handle whatever comes your way. Chapter 12. How to make people feel important and why it changes everything. When you interact with someone, the way you make them feel often stays with them long after the conversation ends. Think about the last time you spoke with someone who made you feel truly heard, appreciated, and valued. The way they listened, the small gestures of kindness, the warmth in their voice, all of this created an impact that you'll remember. Now, Imagine being that person for others. Imagine having the ability to make everyone you encounter feel important, seen, and truly understood. The ability to make people feel important isn't just a tool for building connections. It's a life-changing skill that can transform your social interactions and leave a lasting positive impression wherever you go. When we talk about making people feel important, it's easy to think of grand gestures or extravagant displays of attention. But in reality, it's the small, everyday moments that matter most. It's about showing someone that you're present with them, that they are worthy of your time and energy. In today's fast-paced world, many of us are so focused on ourselves and our own thoughts that we forget how powerful it is to simply listen. The simple act of listening with full attention communicates respect and care in a way words alone cannot. One of the most effective ways to make someone feel important is by being fully present in the moment. This means putting away your phone, stopping the inner monologue of your own thoughts, and truly focusing on the person you're interacting with. When you give someone your undivided attention, they feel like they matter. In a world full of distractions, this is rare, and it's something that people deeply appreciate. It's not just about hearing their words, but about connecting with the emotion behind those words. Acknowledge their feelings, their experiences, and their thoughts. You don't have to agree with everything they say, but simply being engaged and showing empathy can make all the difference. It's not just about listening, though. The way you communicate with others also plays a huge role in making them feel valued. When someone speaks to you, respond thoughtfully. Don't just wait for your turn to talk. Reflect on what they've said, ask follow-up questions, and express genuine interest in their point of view. By engaging in this way, you're showing that their thoughts and feelings are worthy of your time and consideration. This, in turn, builds a deeper connection. People don't just want to be heard, they want to be understood. They want to feel that their opinions, ideas, and feelings are important to you. It's in these moments of validation that true relationships are formed. Sometimes, making someone feel important is as simple as acknowledging them. A compliment, however small, can go a long way. But it's important that your compliments are sincere. People can tell when you're being genuine, and when you offer a compliment that truly reflects your admiration for them, it resonates deeply. Compliment their strengths, their effort, or even their unique qualities. Praise them for something they've done, not just how they look. Genuine compliments show that you appreciate the person for who they are and what they contribute to the world around them. Another powerful way to make people feel important is through acts of kindness. These don't have to be grand gestures. Small acts of consideration can have a profound impact. Holding the door open for someone, offering to help without being asked, or simply expressing gratitude can make a person feel noticed and valued. These actions show that you're thinking of others and willing to put their needs before your own, even for a brief moment. It's the little things that demonstrate your respect and care for others. And when you consistently make these gestures, it builds trust and strengthens your relationships. There's also something powerful about remembering the details. When someone shares something personal with you, whether it's about their work, their family, or a hobby they're passionate about, take note. The next time you see them, ask about it again. Inquiring about the things that matter to them demonstrates that you listen, that you care, and that they are more than just another person passing through your life. People appreciate when others remember them, their likes and dislikes, and the things they care about. It shows that you value them on a deeper level. Being respectful is another key element of making someone feel important. This doesn't just mean treating them kindly, but also honoring their boundaries, their time, and their perspective. If someone expresses discomfort with a topic, respect that and shift the conversation. If they're busy, don't impose on their time. Showing respect for people's boundaries and individuality speaks volumes about how much you care about their well-being. It's an easy way to let someone know that they matter and that their needs are just as important as yours. Sometimes, making someone feel important means being vulnerable and authentic with them. When you share parts of your own life, your struggles, your successes, your hopes, and your dreams, you create a sense of trust and mutual respect. Vulnerability fosters connection because it shows that you're not just interested in using the other person to make yourself feel better, but that you're willing to open up, share your true self, and be real with them. When you let people in and allow them to see who you really are, it gives them the permission to do the same. This creates a deeper sense of equality in the relationship, where both parties feel valued and understood. Another way to make people feel important is by offering them opportunities to shine. Recognize their strengths, encourage them to take on challenges, and celebrate their victories, no matter how big or small. When you highlight someone's abilities and give them the chance to excel, you're showing that you believe in them and their potential. This not only boosts their confidence, but also strengthens your relationship by demonstrating that you're invested in their success. People feel important when others acknowledge their contributions and encourage them to reach their full potential. To truly make people feel important, it's essential to be consistent in your actions. It's not enough to make someone feel special one time and then forget about them. The key is to be dependable, reliable, and consistent in your treatment of others. When you show up for people, whether it's with a kind word, a thoughtful gesture, or simply by being present, it creates a sense of security in the relationship. They know that you genuinely care and that your actions align with your words. This consistency builds trust and deepens the connection. As you go about your interactions, remember that the impact you have on others is often far-reaching. The way you make people feel has the power to lift their spirits, change their outlook, and even inspire them to be better versions of themselves. You may not always see the immediate effects of your kindness and attentiveness, but rest assured, the positive energy you put out into the world ripples outward. Making someone feel important is a gift, both to them and to yourself. When you take the time to make others feel valued, you create a network of meaningful relationships that will enrich your life in ways you never expected. Making people feel important isn't about flattery or trying to win their favor. It's about showing genuine care, respect, and consideration for them as individuals. It's about acknowledging their humanity, their worth, and their uniqueness. The more you practice this, the more it becomes second nature, and the more you'll find that you're surrounded by a community of people who genuinely appreciate and respect you in return. The ability to make others feel important is one of the most powerful tools for building lasting, positive relationships. It's the gift that keeps on giving, creating connections that are built on trust, empathy, and mutual respect.